First of all, let me start with introducing myself. I am Hubert Inhäuser. I am a technical officer at PEFC International, and it's my sincere pleasure to welcome you all on this day when we will talk about the German forest certification system as part of the PEFC International public consultation. Before we start, some housekeeping. Please be advised the meeting will be recorded and will be made publicly available on our website. Therefore, for the moment, I would like to ask you to mute your microphones and keep your questions until the end of the webinar. Our program today will be a brief introduction from my side about PEFC International for those who are not yet familiar with us, which will be followed by a much more detailed presentation from our colleagues at PEFC Germany about the German forest certification system. And at the end of the webinar, there will be time for questions and answers. So with this, let us proceed with the introduction of PEFC International. PEFC stands for Program for the Endorsement of the Forest Certification Systems. We are an alliance of independent national forest certification systems under the umbrella of PEFC International. We provide national forest certification systems based on PEFC's sustainability benchmark. It's a voluntary mechanism promoting sustainable forest management through independent third-party certification. We are very proud that we are the world's largest forest certification system, and we are the provider of 3/4 of the world's certified sustainably managed wood. Here you can see our global coverage. Currently, we have 45 national members with 48 endorsed national schemes, which cover a total of 320 million hectares of forest. And just to introduce to you the German scheme, it was submitted to PEFC International on the 31st of March to be assessed against the PEFC requirements. The PEFC assessor will carry out by an independent assessor, yet to be appointed. As part of the assessment, there's a 60 days public consultation timeframe, which is provided by PEFC International. We opened the public consultation today, and you can submit your comments until 18th of June. All the comments submitted to the PEFC International during this public consultation will be considered by the assessor in the assessment report and through the assessment process. This, of course, means that on the website, the complete German documentation is available for those who wish to get more information about particular documents on how the German works, how the system works. But having said this, I already would like to hand over the floor to the PEFC Germany team. Dirk Tegelbeckers will continue, I think, with his presentation. But Dirk, you tell me otherwise.
Yeah, thank you, Hubert. I'm not alone today. First of all, good morning, everybody. My name is Dirk, General Secretary of PEFC Germany. My colleague, Benjamin Lorenz, will start with the presentation. He is responsible for forest and chain of custody certification here in the office. And then I will continue with more details on the standard revision process and on the scheme documentation. I will try to share now my screen. Is it possible to see the screen now and also the presentation mode now?
Yes, it works perfectly, Dirk.
Okay. Okay. I will hand over to Benjamin.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Benjamin Lorenz, and I'm the Technical Officer of PEFC Germany, as Dirk mentioned. And today I'm giving you some information about the German forest system. Germany has a total land size of 357,000 square kilometers. About 50% is used for agriculture, about 17% are covered by settlement and traffic areas, and 33% are forest areas. With 33% covered by forest, Germany ranks only in the midfield in Europe, but its total forest area is one of the largest behind Russia, Sweden, Finland, Spain, and France. Germany's total forest area covers 11.4 million hectares, with Bavaria having the largest forest area with 2.6 million, followed by Baden-Württemberg with 1.4 million and Lower Saxony with 1.2 million. Around 8.5 million hectares of woodland in Germany are PEFC certified, which represents a share of around 77%. These are about 3,500 communities, 45 federal or state forest enterprises, and 7,500 individual private forest owners. In addition, there are approximately 270,000 forest owners, private and municipally, who are organized in 950 forestry associations and are PEFC certified through them. The ownership of the German forest is divided into 4% federal, 29% state, 19% municipal, and 48% private. On average, the area of a private forest owner is about 3 hectares. If you consider the shares in the private forest sector, as you can see in the graphic on the right side, it is noticeable that areas under 20 hectares account for a share of around 50%. That said, it is all the more surprising that the second largest share, at 13%, consists of areas over 1,000 hectares. The so-called timberland is stocked with 56% coniferous trees, where the most common species are spruce and pine. 44% are stocked with deciduous trees. Here are the most common species beech and oak. Half of the raw wood harvested is processed into lumber. The other half is divided into industrial wood with 18% and firewood with 31%. With a share of 73%, coniferous wood is of far greater economic importance than deciduous wood. Now some words about the current situation in Germany. German forestry in the last few years was hardly affected by wind, storm, and insects. The amount of timber harvested due to environmental impacts more than doubled in 2018 and even raised in 2019. Heat and dry periods as a consequence of climate change had a negative influence on the vitality of the forest and thus contributed to the increased occurrence of damaged wood. Spruce stands were most affected, with beech also showing problems with drought. For at least the last decade, spruce has been the most important species in German forestry. As shown on the previous slide, there is an increased volume of damaged wood. The graph shows that the total volume of coniferous wood harvested has increased sharply since 2018, since the onset of the more severe environmental influences. Despite the volume of damaged wood, hardwood or deciduous wood, felling remains almost the same, while the felling figures for coniferous wood increase significantly. This is due to the fact that the proportion of deadwood in German forests is to be increased in order to increase biodiversity, and the damaged deciduous trees do not pose a significant threat to the remaining stock. Furthermore, it must also be mentioned that economic utilization is currently still strongly oriented towards coniferous woods. Despite the significant rise in the amount of timber harvested, there is still an increase in timber stock. Today, the timber stock is around 336 cubic meters per hectare, with an annual growth of around 11 cubic meters per hectare per year.
Okay, thank you, Benjamin. That was the circumstances we are doing forestry in Germany, and now I will describe who we are, how the PEFC scheme works before we come to the chapter standard setting process, and then I will present what is new in the revised German PEFC scheme. First, on national level, just to get the vocabulary right, we have a General Assembly like PEFC International, and this General Assembly elects a so-called German Forest Certification Council. This is the main body setting the standards. If we are talking about the standard revision, this is the body who is adopting the final draft. And of course, they are commissioning us, the PEFC Secretariat, for running the business. We are running a group certification scheme on the basis of regions, like in Austria, like in France. And here the certificate holders are the regional working groups. We are calling them regional working groups, who are holding the certificate and who are managing as group entity the processes on group, that means regional level. Participants in this group certification can be individual forest owners, but also forestry associations. That means legal entities which represent a number of individual forest owners. These participants have a self-commitment sending to the regional working group, and the regional working group is imposing internal monitoring or internal audits on the participants. Just this arrow shows that there are fees paid by these participants for the usage of the standard and the logo to PEFC Germany. And last but not least, we have, of course, the certification body who is certifying the regional working groups after they have applied for certification. And we have a German accreditation body situated in Berlin, which is accrediting these certification bodies, which are also notified by PEFC Germany. Just starting with the national level, who is representing PEFC Germany. We have a chair, two chairmen. One is Professor Bitter, who is also a forest owner and a professor for forest inventory and forest economics in Dresden. And the deputy is the mayor of a city in the north of Germany who has also studied forestry science. It's Peter Gaffert. I told you that the most important decision-making body is the German Forest Certification Council. And here you can see who is represented, which stakeholder groups are represented in the German Forest Certification Council. We have half of the seats occupied by the forest owners, the state forest, communal forest, private forest. We have ENGOs, we have trade unions, we have the wood industry, we have forest contractors and others. And the Secretariat in Stuttgart, two of us you already know now, and there are three others which are dealing with communications and marketing. You heard about the figures already. 77% of the German forests are PEFC certified. That means we are the largest forest certification system in Germany. There are only 1.4 million hectares FSC certified, and out of these 1.4 million hectares FSC certified are 1 million double certified state forests. We have all state forests in Germany PEFC certified, and also 7,000 private forest enterprises 3,000 municipalities and about 940 forestry associations, which have almost 300,000 members. Excuse me. On the map, you can see where we are very strong. You see in the center part around Frankfurt, 90% of this region are PEFC certified. We're very strong in Bavaria, and here in the Baden-Württemberg region, we are growing stronger now in the northeast. It's always a bit a problem, but since some weeks or some months, it's possible to get a state grant, a subsidy of 100 euro per hectare. If you are certified for PEFC certification, you get 100 euro. And since some months, we have a really great increase in the certified area, especially in the northeast, where we had problems to find participants before. And last but not least, before I start with the standard revision process, just a look at the chain of custody figures. We have 1,500 individual chain of custody certificates. We have 155 multi-site certificates with 760 participants and 9 producer groups with 200 participants. We are strong in wood trading, sawmill, printing. We are growing a lot in furniture and in construction during the last few years. Okay, that was setting the scene, and now I will present the standard revision process. We started 2019 and finished in 2020, and here at the bottom you see the timeline, and you see we start in June 2019, and we finished the process in December 2020. We started with a kick-off event in Berlin. We called it Dialogue Forum. We invited every stakeholders, everybody who was interested in forest certification, and we had some panel discussions on different topics. You see the list here, how others see and assess PEFC. We talked about recreational forest certification, about game and forests, about social standards and forest contractors, about the regional label, and in the end we had a complete panel discussion on innovations and continuous improvement. What should PEFC be concerned with in the future? So this was the kickoff in June, and then in July, in August, we made a public announcement on the start of the revision. We produced this flowchart. It's in German, but showing the process from August 2019 to end of 2021, and it showed how people could join this process. Beside this website announcement, we wrote a letter, really a printed letter to 182 stakeholders. We identified in the stakeholder mapping as key stakeholders or as especially affected stakeholders. And in this letter, they could have, there were 2 QR codes leading to 2 feedback forms. First one to express interest in joining the working group, and the second one to submit suggestions for amendments to the PEFC standards. The same we had on this website, and so we collected interest in joining the working group and also suggestions how to improve our standards. Altogether, in December, we got 62 people who wanted to join this working group, and we had a constitutive meeting, the first meeting in December in Göttingen. Our chairman, the chairman of PEFC International, PEFC Germany, was also elected as chairman of the working group. And we just established at that meeting 5 sub-working groups to different topics like recreation, like silviculture, biodiversity, procedures, and the last one I forgot. So we collected working group members who would like to join the different topics, the different sub-working groups. And here you can see how we clustered these topics from our standards, from our sustainable forest management standards to the different sub-working groups. And this is just for Hubert, maybe this is a correct link in our standard revision process report. There's a wrong link, so please use this link for the press release saying that, that the process of finding working group members has been finished. In February and in April 2020, we had these meetings of the sub-working groups. In February, it was possible to meet in person. You can see on the photos on the left-hand side, the sub-working group silviculture, on the right-hand side, sub-working group recreation. And because of the COVID pandemic, it was only possible in April to meet online. But these sub-working groups produced proposals for amending, for improving the different documents of the PEFC scheme. Then the first draft was developed from the suggestions of these sub-working groups by the big working group. I told you 60 members. They met in June and in July. In June, here you can see on the pictures the first meeting in Göttingen, and there was another meeting in July in Berlin, and here the first draft was adopted by consensus. 1 month later, means in August, we had a PEFC conference in Berlin. It was a meeting in person. Not too many people were present there, but here the final draft, the first draft was presented to the public at this conference, and at that very day the consultation also started. So we had at this 26th of August, we had also all documents on the website. We uploaded it for commenting. And a few days later, we also sent again a letter, a proper letter to 66 representatives of stakeholders who had not been represented in the working group. And maybe one sentence concerning the never-ending story of participating of ENGOs. We had no reaction, no feedback on our first letter. We had a feedback on the second letter concerning the commenting on the draft. It came by WWF and said we will not participate because in PEFC Germany we have not the power to influence decisions in this German Forest Certification Council. And I got a informal feedback of the NABU. It's the German branch of this RSPB, you maybe know from the UK. And they said to me, it's not possible to join the process because we have not the human resources. It's enough if we are going to FSC standard revision processes and we have not the resources also to send somebody to the PEFC standard revision process. But nevertheless, at the end of the consultation, end of October, we registered 196 submissions from 66 people, and these comments, these submissions were considered and discussed by the working group again. It was in late October in Göttingen again, and we had a hybrid meeting. Some people gathered at the meeting room, others joined online. And at the end of the 2 days discussions, there was a consensus reached on the final draft. End of November, the German Forest Certification Council met virtually and also unanimously approved the revised documentation. A few days later, we published all the new documents, also in, how do you call it in English, in change mode. Yeah, we showed the new document, also a document showing the changes made in the revision process. We had a special file on our website saying the new PEFC standards 2020. And also at the beginning of December, we published the standard revision report. And also we published a list of all these 196 submissions saying how the working group considered them and whether they were adopted, and when they were not adopted, why the working group did not adopt them. Okay, this was the process, the standard revision process, taking us 1.5 years. I think I like these processes, although it was my 4th one. I started 20 years ago, and I think it's very important to always tell the stakeholders that PEFC is really interested in getting their input, that we are really interested in continuously improve our standards, and these formalized processes are also a good way of showing the public that we are moving and that we are getting better. All right. Next chapter, the German PEFC scheme. The documents, I will show you the list. You can find this list also at the scheme description in the PEFC D0001 document. And I colored, I marked all documents which had changes. If they are white, no changes. If you see the light green color, you see they have been made minor changes, and the dark green documents have been major changes to them during this last revision process. Okay, system description, not a normative document, but normative documents dealing with the regional the group certification, dealing with the SFM standard, dealing with a Christmas tree plantation, dealing with recreational forest certification, and also with regional label. But now I will only focus on the changes here in the document 1001 and the document 1021, and also in these 2 documents dealing with recreational forest. No changes, of course, we adopt the international standards, no changes in the forms and tools, and also very little changes in the procedural documents. We have a minor change in the procedures and criteria for the endorsement of Forest Service Enterprise certificates, but this is not really necessary to mention or to present today. If somebody is interested, you can have a look at this document. Okay, I will start with the regional forest management certification, the requirements. And just to remind you, we are talking about this part of our scheme, about the regional working group, about the participants, about the internal monitoring. And this is an example I have in every presentation, just to show that it's really necessary to have a group certification approach in German forestry And I always take as example the Forestry Association OBERAMMERGAU. Maybe one or the other of you have met this guy and also visited this Forestry Association, because there was a General Assembly 2007 in Munich, and we had an excursion, a field trip to this Forestry Association. They have 1,088 hectares, 180 members, means an average size of 6 hectares. And the audit costs in Germany are approximately 1,000 euro per man day. And if you are just calculating that an auditor takes 4 hours to just check or audit one of the member holdings, then it would cost, if you asked for individual certification and annual auditing, it would cost 90,000 euros per year. That's incredibly high. It's not affordable for entities like these Forestry Associations. So it's if it would be this price, then they would not regard certification as an option. Even if you say, okay, every member has to be audited within the certificate validity of 5 years, it's 18,000 euros. And compare to that the PEFC fee of 18 cents per hectare, that means about 200 euros per year. This is the an option. This is the solution for getting these forestry associations, the single forest owners, into a voluntary forest certification scheme in Germany. And we continuously improving our system, and like the benchmark of PEFC International is also rising. So we started with this internal monitoring program in 2015, right after the last standard revision process. So-called regional group managers were installed, covering 1 to 3 groups. You see in the south we have quite because we have a lot of forest owners and a lot of certified forest area. For example, Michael Korn is just manager for the region of Baden-Württemberg, but here in the northeast, Sebastian Lohse, he's responsible for 3 groups altogether. So they are in charge of doing the internal or implementing the internal audit program. And what is new in the new scheme documentation is Annex 4 of this PEFC-D 1001 document. 1001 means requirements for regional certification. We had so far we asked for auditing 10% of the participating forest area, but as PEFC International, the group certification standard, asks for a sampling method, we now introduce this Annex 4, and it's really very close to the sampling procedure for external auditing. The other amendment was made also because of the need expressed by PEFC International. It's concerning the right PEFC declaration made by forest owners if they are selling roundwood. We are just pointing at the necessity to use the official PEFC claim 100% PEFC certified. So this is integrated in 1001, and there's also a link in the SFM standard, so that every forest owner reading the standards knows that he has to use the right declaration if he wants to sell his timber. These were the changes in 1001. Now I will give you an idea what was changed in the SFM standard 1002-1. This is a new printing version. This is the layout of the printing version. Of course, we discussed a lot about how to adapt the wording and the requirements in view of the the climate change, of the changing climate conditions. We talked about, of course, biodiversity, work security, natural regeneration, about this question of adapted game stock, and also on recreation, which is brand new and is a paragraph, is a requirement concerning, this is just a slogan, it's called plastic-free forestry. And if you like, you can read it, but I can also read it for you. It reads, final crop trees, respectively, elite trees shall be identifiable and shall principally not, oh, sorry. No, this is copy-paste problem. It starts with the second line. In order to protect the forest ecosystem from plastic residues, the use of products made of petroleum-based materials, such as growth covers, protection against rubbing, velvet browsing, peeling, and marking tapes is avoided as far as possible. As far as available on the market and economically reasonable, products should be used whose materials originate from renewable raw materials. Growth covers that are no longer functional and those that have fulfilled their purpose are removed from the forest and disposed of properly. The forest owners are asked to have especially these growth covers from not from petroleum-based materials, and to remove it if they do not longer be needed in the forest. The other brand new requirement concerning forest edges, it reads, structurally rich forest edges provide a habitat for a variety of plant and animal species, some of which are rare. They also have a positive effect on the internal forest climate and can reduce the risk of wind throw. The forest owner promotes structurally rich and diverse forest edges. What is not new, but what is really always a topic in the discussions, I show you just the statistics of the major non-conformities which were found in the audits of the last, I would say, 15 years. And you see that even before health and safety questions in German forests, the problem of adapted stock of game, that means red deer, roe deer, especially, is a major problem also in PEFC certified forest. And so the requirement addressing this game stock question was a bit improved. There were given more guidance in an appendix, what the forest owners shall do or should do to achieve adapted game stocks. And also, and there's one change also in the question, when can a game stock be regarded as adapted? All right, not so many, you see, there were minor changes in the FSM standard and minor changes in the regional forests, in the group certification standard. But there were major changes in the documents concerning or dealing with recreational forest standard. The recreational forest standard, it's not new. We started with it, or it was adopted the first time in 2014. But now what is new is that we, or the PEFC Germany, did add two aspects or two additional options. So it's called now the SPA, medicinal and recreational forest standard. And what it does mean? What it means, I will show you now. This is old. This is from 2014, but I want to give you the information. Otherwise, you cannot just assess what is new now. We offered the option of, if you are PEFC certified, if you are participating in the regional PEFC certification, then you can get a recreational forest certification as an add-on. So the condition to get this certificate for recreational forest management, you need to be a participant in regional certification. Then you can decide whether your complete enterprise will be certified, or you have certain forest areas which you want to get the certificate, the recreational certificate for. And you can then use the declaration PEFC certified recreational forest, or from now on also PEFC certified SPA forest or PEFC certified medicinal forest. The heart or the main element of this certification is a regional forest strategy. It must be in place. It must contain a monitoring concept. And of course, the certificate holder has to make all necessary resources available for the implementation of this strategy. It should include the following elements. It should define a target. There should be an infrastructure planning in it. There should be a concept of conflict management and tools for conflict resolution be addressed. A provision of the information to the public and also forest-related education should be part of this forest strategy. Step 2 is the implementation of this strategy. For example, the standard requires that the infrastructure is in good condition and is regularly checked and maintained, that the density of the network of forest road and trails is appropriate, that subsequent to silvicultural operations or forest disturbances, infrastructure and particularly the roads are recovered as soon as possible, and that the forest is managed with regard to a variety of forest aspects and forest structures. For example, the conservation of special tree individuals, the support of mixed stands, structural diversity, access to water bodies, and so on. This is new. On the bottom is a participation in the regional forest certification. This is important. It's not showing this diagram, but this is the condition for everything else. The condition to have a SPA forest certified or the medicinal forest certified is that you have already this recreational forest standard, this forest strategy in place. And the definition of SPA forest, I will give it to you in order to understand the concept. SPA forests are forest areas which, due to various characteristics, are suitable for developing a broad health promoting effect. Stays in a SPA forest are suitable for preventing the aggravation, recurrence, and chronification of diseases. This is the next step. This is you can put on a recreational forest standard. You can put as addition a SPA forest standard, and above from that, there are requirements for medicinal forests, which are forests designated for therapeutic use of special indications. Treatments in the forest which are accompanied by trained therapists are suitable to favorably influence the handling of diseases as well as the extent of disability caused by these diseases. Chronic illnesses can be treated in a palliative way. So there's a set of standards added to the recreational forest standard addressing these aspects of SPA forest and medicinal forest. And last but not least, I have to point out that this certification is always an individual certification, so we are not working with sampling. There are no group requirements, but every forest owner is appointing a certification body to check these requirements. The certification body has to be accredited for forest certification according to the German PEFC scheme. And the annual audits could be on-site or could be remote and have to take at least half a day. So that's what I wanted to explain or describe or present about our revised German scheme. For more information, please visit our website. And now I will hand over to Hubert again to moderate the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dirk, for this very detailed and focused presentation. You can stop sharing your screen now, I think. I think always the presentation can be measured at how many persons left the room during the presentation, and here it was 100% success rate. So again, thank you very much for all the details. And I think, yes, here we are. I just would like to remind everyone that the full German documentation is available on the PEFC website. Therefore, I would kindly ask everyone to focus on clarification questions if you have for Dirk and Benjamin, and the floor is open.
All right, then I'm going to start. Thank you for the presentation first. My name is David Sommer and I'm a forestry student from Munich. And I have a question concerning the plastic-free growth covers. You've stated that it's okay to use plastic growth covers if it's economically reasonable. What does it mean?
Now, if there's no alternative, there's no statement against these growth covers. It's just the idea that if they are renewable from the renewable materials, these growth covers available, then the forest owners has to use them. And there's a project running at the moment at the University of Rottenburg, just developing such alternatives. So we say if there's an alternative, then you have to use it. But at the moment, there's no alternatives, so you have to use remove it if they are used, these growth covers. This is the main, you know, from German forestry, that's the main problem, that you have all these plastic things lying in the forest soil.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, David. I think it was a very good question, because it's not only in Germany where you face a lot of plastic in the forest, unfortunately. Is there any other question for Dirk or Benjamin?
Yes, I have one more. You, Mr. Tegelbeckers, you have talked about the WWF. They stated that there is no possibility to influence the certification process. Is that right? Yes. And
I said they have not the power to influence the adoption of the standard. Yeah.
okay.
It was their statement. Yeah. Just question.
And is this, in your eyes, a valid concern?
No, it is not. And I think the NABU, the other organization, has realized that within the working group, and this is a requirement from PEFC International, you have to achieve a consensus. That means every stakeholder in the working group has to, it's like a veto right. You can say, okay, we are not satisfied with the outcome and we are just stopping the process at that point. And I think WWF is not realizing that in the process of the standard setting, there's a really good option to influence the process. Of course, I showed you the speciality of the German scheme concerning the German Forest Certification Council. 50% forest owners, and they have a veto right in this. But in the process of the standard setting, of the standard revision, they have a really major possibility of influence, like required by PEFC International.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there maybe any other question? In case not, I would like to ask or thank again Dirk and Benjamin for the excellent presentation and for all the participants joining us today. And I do encourage you still to, if you're interested in details, go on our website and check the complete documentation. But with this, I would like to close the webinar for today, and I wish you a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Hubert. Bye.